companies, securities, banking, and real estate agents out there. Right now, they're way behind in their work. They're like 4 years in reporting to the legislature on their reports for insurance and banking. After general license and registration area, they also have to take care of the one-stop, and they also take care of corporate filings. And then we have the weights and measure. Weights and measure, thank you. Weights and measure division, branch, which takes care of calibrating all the scales that are in the stores, the gas pumps that are the gas stations. And then, of course, we have the motor vehicle division. I have 6 employees in my driver's license division, and we are like 6 months behind in processing driving tests. So, of course, if you own a business and you're trying to get a chauffeur's license, it's going to affect your business. I lack funding for that area, too. I have the vehicle registration area. We process about 100,000 vehicles a year, and I have a staff of 8 to handle that. And of course, they gave us the Guam ID without the funding or the resources, so we have to take care of that too. Okay, the motor vehicle, motor carrier and safety program. That's a federally funded program, and that we take. I don't know if you remember when we had that big accident with that overweight truck going down the road and it killed somebody. We also take care of that. Then back about 5-6 years ago, we were sued because I didn't have a taxpayer advocate. This advocate is supposed to be on the taxpayer side, so it doesn't seem like we're just trying to collect, and there's no reason why to collect. We didn't follow procedures. So we lost the case, a big case, so now I have a taxpayer advocate, which is an expense that I have to eat, and it's part of the budget, but still not enough for me to run the department. And then, of course, they gave us the U.S. passport with 2 employees. And guess what? If you're going to get your passport, the line is long. So guess what? I have to get a collector or somebody from my other place, from my other branches, to help out so that they can alleviate the lines. And of course, I have my systems and programming branch. And we acquired this high-tech scanner. Of course, I spoke about that. We haven't had funding for the 1040s, 1040As and 1040EZs, but once we get that on board and once we get the appropriation for it, all filing and all returns will be read through the scanner. So it eliminates the keying in of these tax returns, and every line that's on a tax return will be read off from the scanner. This graph depicts our budget and versus our revenues that we collected. Back in 2002, we had a budget of like $7 million, and we collected like close to $12 million. As compared to 2008, we had a budget of over $10 million, and of course our revenues was like $129 million. So the thing is, I keep telling the senators in the legislature, if you give me some money, $1 million, I'll make that 6 or 7. This increase in revenues is from IRS training, which we never had in the past, and also our computer system, which is a lot better than it was before. We now have this thing called the POS system. When Lou and her office, her treasurer's office, people pay their bills, or their taxes, it gets keyed in, and that affects the taxpayers' accounts, and it would inform us, the collectors downstairs, that this guy paid his taxes. If that wasn't there, we had a lot of problems. And prior to this system, we had people who would pay their taxes at the treasurer's office, and then I had my collectors going out and knocking on your door saying, you owe us money. Next page. Okay? According to a report issued by the Office of Inspector General, revenue tax is hamstrung by the lack of adequate funding and staff, and inability to hire and retain qualified tax enforcement officers and agents, and an ever-increasing workload and reliance on manual processes and outdated equipment. DRT, we have in the past about 250 employees. And when we had that back in the 90s, our input of data was completed by the end of the year. Now we're like 2 years behind. I also have an aging employees. John and I are probably the old ones. But we have like 31 of us that have over 25 years. And once we're out, that's a lot of people to lose. The technical house, which doors to open, where to get information. If that's out the door, then we're going to go back to what we felt in 1999 when they had that early out and a lot of us left. A DRT cannot offer competitive salaries to attract and retain qualified employees. While other government agencies receive pay increases, DRT pays the same salaries we did 10 years ago. DRT's budget is like 5% of the total GovGuam budget, but we collect 75% of the revenues. So my theory is, if you give us the money, we would make more money for you. If you look at our revenues that we have today, yes, we've been holding down on expenditure, but if you look at the revenues, revenues comes from revenue tax. It's because the collection efforts that my staff has learned from IRS training, and also from their efforts in enforcing the law, knowing what to do. In the past, they didn't know what to do. We were like, what else is, we were running around without a head. Our refunds in the last 10 years has also been increasing. This is because of the tax rate reduction and also the credits that I've been getting. If you notice today, your refunds is probably like $3,000 more, $4,000 more than it was 10 years ago. So that affects our revenues and Lou and her operations. Come December 31st or January 1st, we're supposed to have $101 million for refunds. We don't have that. So that is a debt that we're going to have to show come January 1st when the new tax year starts. In addition, we have not paid out all of 2008. I think we still owe like, I think the reserve is 92. We paid out 20 million. So we still owe like 70. So that together, next year we're going to owe like 181 in refunds. There's a lot of other things I want to talk about, but my time's running out. I would like to thank you all for listening to Revenue Tax and my employees and their plea for help. Thank you. I would like to turn it over to Tina.
Siso Maasi Art. I have to say that when we were coming together for the forum and recognizing the purpose and the objectives, Art was very adamant about making his case on behalf of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. Art has made a case about some of the growing pains our island community must address, like our physical infrastructure, because, ladies and gentlemen, the Guam story continues to unfold. The story you just heard made an impression upon Standard & Poor's and the institutional investors that understood the positive growth our island will be experiencing. With positive trends in construction, employment, and visitor industry, the improved budgetary and fiscal controls, and the collective political will to implement difficult fiscal decisions, the horizon looks promising for our island community. Although we, as this forum brings to light, we must gather and continue to work collectively to make our Guam story unfold, in line with building a sustainable foundation for growth while maintaining our unique culture and heritage. With that, we now have a little bit of time for questions, and if we don't get to you, please write your